Buckle up in the incredible last episode of Joe's journey. After 7 long episodes, we finally reach the climax. That is the action-packed adventure of our storm-eating panda. We have depleted keys and guild keys, which is pretty much the same, but also abandoned keys and disconnects. Does this episode even get good? Oh yay. We also got timed keys and the one key to rule them all. So grab your bamboo and enjoy the ride.
Hey guys, it's Kusi. We finally managed to get Keystone Hero with a bit of an anticlimactic finish. We also timed the +20 key, arguably one of the harder ones for this week, while having our next experience of a disbanded key. But for starters, and I know this can get annoying at times, but I'd like to really appreciate the support that you've shown in this series again. Thank you so much to every one of you who is watching this goofy series, and I hope you enjoyed the final episode of Joe's journey. Also, if this is your first time watching the series, make sure to check it out from the beginning. 7 out of 10 pandas recommend. With that being said, let's dive in. Some of you already seen this part in the last episode. Shout out to my full video watchers, but we start off with our vault. Since we have 3 Mythic Plus options, with all of them being able to get to 447, this can pretty much just be an upgrade. Of course we get an offhand again, because this game hates me, but we also get a verse crit neck, which is pretty much just perfect at this point. So we gladly take that, put 3 gemstones in it, and upgrade it to 447. No questions asked. Our first key of the already 8th episode is a full-blown guild key. You heard me. I am absolutely abusing the rule to join a guild to a sheer maximum. 2 goals for this episode come to mind. Obviously timing a +20 key, but since we are already so close to it, we grab Keystone Hero as well. Keystone Hero, or KSH, is achieved by reaching a rating of 2500. And for everyone who watched previous guild keys I've done, spoilers, it went exactly the same. First, let me just quickly mention that this key would not have given me any rating at all, since I've already 2-chested this on Tyrannical. But I gladly took this one to warm up myself, since I didn't get to play for a few days at this point. Because we had multiple Neldaris runs last episode, and because this one doesn't have any benefit for us in any way, I will just simply skip it to the end. It didn't go too bad, other than the party lacking heaps of damage, and that first attempt on the last boss, where no one besides me used one of those items. Also, besides 2 of the keys you will see today, all of them were keys that I just joined, so I was gambling a lot this week. Alright, we got 2 new affixes to talk about here. First, we have a very annoying affix called Spiteful, which lets little ghosts spawn to hunt a random player after a trash mob dies. The second affix is called Incorporeal. This one is a new affix introduced this season. Every time you're in combat, a timer will run down that eventually spawn either 1 or 2 spirits. The key to handling those is by using any type of long duration crowd control. Since those suckers are considered every mob type, everything works. Fear, Sheep, Ice Trap, Banish, you get the drill. Also, once you see, they are immune to damage, which prevents any breaks from happening. On a fortunate note, Spiteful made Incorporeal a bit easier to play because often the spirits just spawned at the end of the fight instead of the beginning on the next fight. However, there's one annoying thing that I've seen this week, and I will show you later what I mean. With only 2 deaths before the first boss, this was already a bit better than the 20 Dragonflight we did last week. But the warbands just keep on being an annoying addition to this dungeon. Especially in Tyrannical, I advise all of you DPS players to help out the healer as much as you can. Defensive cooldowns like to be used too, though there is a way to use your deaths wrong. Our healer here, for example, already used his cocoon on the tank earlier, and then also used his damage reduction on the lesser painful ability of Gash 2. After that, he was pretty much naked, and I really fail to understand why a lot of people just keep running from Gash 2 when he's hitting you with marked for butchery. Maybe if you just spam himself, he would have lived that. If any of you get targeted by that, use a death cooldown if available, or even better, use an immunity if you have any. The druid then combat rushes the healer that also seemingly didn't watch where he was spawning, so he died instantly again. Luckily, we managed to kill Trick Totem after that, while also killing Gash 2 just before he was about to blind the tank. The remaining boss is no issue, and with that, we barely made it through the group check. Dreammouth as well as Gutshot went pretty clean, and by pulling a lot more trash towards the second boss earlier, our trash count looks pretty good too. Now Red Eye is a potential damage check. It's gotten a bit easier ever since they nerfed the cast time of the totem, but I feel like what made it easier for us here is that we had 3 range DPS to just instantly send it. Every time it lined up, I saved an Elemental Blast into Lightning Bolt combo for the totem. Only 5 deaths on the board, and we only one-chested this one, shows you how much single target damage is needed on Tyrannical week. Plus 21 score, adding up to 2409 rating overall. Next up is the 17 Older Man. And I have to be honest, it felt a lot easier to get into those key levels when your rating isn't too bad. People just assume you play good at this point, and I gladly take the spot. Now again, the setup for this group was really solid. A Frost Mage, Prot Paladin and Drake Heal is always nice to be around. And I need to take a second to appreciate the Hunter here too. Even though his or her overall damage provided wasn't as high, the traps to deal with the affixes were mostly on point, and got placed even before they spawned. Considering Hunter get a lot of bad rep, I feel like I had to say it. We quickly made our way to Bromag, which is probably the second hardest boss in this dungeon. Keep in mind, Older Man is always a bit rough on Tyrannical due to the 5 bosses to conquer. Again, 3 ranges really make this a lot smoother, cause you have so many range kicks for the ads. The importance of nuking your totem should be clear to everyone involved. It also helps if you use a death cooldown on that as well, since the totem radiates a lot of damage to the party. On the Dwarven gang, I really started to appreciate the new talents we chose. Being able to move a lot while casting is such a feel-good moment, and if any of you ever consider to play Elemental Shaman, I highly recommend using them from the beginning. After the dwarves had been beaten, we made our way to the most annoying boss of this dungeon. Talondras is a very rough heal shape, so again, help the healer to help you. When the fight started, I got dotted by the boss right away, which caused me to use my only death cooldown instantly. And because we had a Drake, I tried to stay between him and the melee camp, because that just makes the healing of the group a lot easier for him. And of course I got hit with the shard again, but since I didn't have any cooldowns to deal with anymore, it ticked like hell. Luckily my cloak saved by Fluffy Bomb again, so removed. Also look at what the liquid magma totem can do if you actually use it, and even twice with totemic recall. Emberon is a really annoying boss to fight when having a dragon as healer. Considering it's a lot smarter to stay spreaded here, he has mad issues to keep the party alive, so I just heal whenever I can to ensure no one flops over. I think the Hunter only died because he got clipped by the frontal that the tank pointed towards him. Well, the tank apologized and we kept moving forward. 12 minutes remaining with still 40% trash to kill and only one boss. This isn't in the bag yet. Not sure what happened here since I didn't target the mob specifically, but he just chose to run towards me and decided to send me to Narnia. 5 minutes remain to defeat the last boss. This is doable, if we don't mess this up. And because I like to remind you, if you have a slow removal in your toolkit, use it when you receive the dot time sink. This hurts a lot, so help out your healer. By timing this key, our score rises to 24-26. Next up is a key that really hurts to mention. Since I needed it for score, I really wanted to get into an Eltharion Slayer, and so I did. Watching this back, there were so many signs to read on this one. First of all, this was an 18 layer, and the key owner decided it's a good idea to invite 2 more warriors. Which means not only do they not provide anything like combat rest, bloodlust or anything else useful but battle shout, they also have no proper CC to deal with the spirits from Incorporeal. Yet this is a good thing to mention, because those spirits are CCable by anything, this also means mind control. So if you're a priest, you should really consider skilling the talent to do that. This also works with controlling undead for Death Knights, by the way. If you mind control the spirit, it will actually cast his 50% damage reduction onto the trash mobs or bosses. If this isn't broken, I don't know what is. After having some initial struggle with the first boss, we managed to overcome it and made our way towards the second. I do absolutely believe that this is the first time I wiped here. And you probably wonder, Kussi, why are you taking a dirt nap here? Let me show you. Apparently this little platform thingy here is bugged. When you stand too close to it, the claws from Strike of the Mountain will not spawn proper and instead spawn at the edge of the platform. So it spawned directly under me without any split second for me to react to it. I'm not sure if this is a thing since Legion, but I can tell you I have not seen this before. And because of the slightly useless setup, Incorporeal made us wipe. After that, it got even worse. Someone pulled trash we skipped and died to that, so we had to help out and lose even more time. And then your boy rips aggro, while only doing 50k DPS and dies right away again. No combat rest available, this was already destined to fail when the spirits are spawning. And with that, the tank left the key and we can add an Eltharion Slayer to the small list of dungeons that didn't finish. After that, I decided to call it a night and went to bed. Next day I tried to complete my own key. I didn't show you this, but guess what our vault gave us? Because this game hates me, we had another Underworld for our pleasure. And because we ended last week on a depleted 20, this key was level 19 right away. So we learned from that Netarion, and with that, made sure we got plenty of utility on this one. Matter of fact, I made absolutely sure that we are set for this one. 3 combat dresses, and pretty much everyone had a CC for the affix, even the Shadow Priest for mind control. I'm not messing around this time. Honestly, in the beginning, I was certain this won't be timeable. The Shadow Priest damage, even though he was the same item level I was absolutely horrendous when we started. But after the boss, some things changed apparently. All of a sudden he was pumping. We did the pretty much normal way of doing this, by clearing trash and even doing the third boss in order to have lust back on the second. And because nothing really went wrong on Sporecrawler or Sancha, we just quickly appreciate the upheaval placement of your boy. After killing it, I quickly scrapped the remains of our Shadow Priest from the ground, and we made our way to a more annoying boss. With only 4 deaths so far, we were still pretty good on time. And because everyone did what they needed to do, we took care of Crackmore, slowly but surely. Having a full set of ranges here can be a bit rough due to the amount of movement, which results in a downtime on the boss, but we managed. Next is just your routine 25% crash towards the last boss, which we were able to start with the remaining timer of 5 minutes. Plenty of time to finish as well. And again, no mess ups. We even had Lustback available halfway through the fight, which made the entire thing a bit easier. Also, look at me using the trinket on orbs in order to get the full 5 stacks of crit. If that ain't gaming, I don't know what is. With almost 2 minutes remaining, we finished this key and got another 11 redding to a total of 24-37. Curious about what 20 key I got this time, I quickly got hit by the harsh reality of the 5 boss dungeon on Tyrannical. Olderman was our next destination, and Blizzard really tried to not make it easy on us. But I was feeling myself, so you can be assured that I went right ahead and made a group for this one. It honestly took me some time, mainly for a proper healer to apply, but I felt really good about this party. Everyone is experienced, while also having the beautiful comp of a Guardian, Sub-Rogue, Holy Paladin and the Balance Tree. So not only did we have enough combat rests for everyone, we also were just oozing meta comp. Well, besides that weird elemental shaman. However, the first pull already made my heart skip a beat. Even though the Guardian was an experienced tank, he was still only 435, and he started off the key like this. Guardian is so hilariously broken, doing almost as much HPS as he's doing DPS. While Survival Hunter is C tier in every patch, except that one Shadowlands patch where there were 1 of 2 classes with uncapped AoE. After that first pull, I was at least ensured that trash packs will not be the issue. So we started at Bromag with Bloodlust as per usual. And even though the first boss took a while, it was still played pretty well, unlike the next boss. Our rogue just died very instantly and left us 4-manning this boss from the very beginning. This obviously took even more time to do. Almost 3 minutes later, we killed it and everyone knew we had to gain some time by speeding things up. So the tank, again, did a big pull. But this one is very smart to do. Even though you have 3 Revtai custodians to deal with here, if you just kite them, they can't put a bleed on the tank, meaning the tank should take very little damage as long as he stays far enough away. Up next, the nightmare of every healer. Again, the absolute heal check that also really insists on DPS using their cooldowns to survive certain mechanics. Oh, and remember when I said earlier that the spirits sometimes spawn after the combat was over, just because of spiteful? This is what I meant. Because of this, the spawning cooldown got resetted and we didn't need to bother with it at the start of the boss fight. For those of you that don't know, the boss pretty much has 3 mechanics. First is a spell called Earthen Shard, which does some serious initial damage and also a heavy ticking bleed on the player. The next one is Crushing Stomp, which is an AoE knockback that also hurts like hell. If you got Earthen Shard on you, you really should have some sort of death cooldown rolling when the stomp happens. The last and final mechanic are those balls that circle around the boss. Each of those balls is a stun immunity and will get removed whenever the boss is affected by a stun. Kiting him through those little areas in the ground will remove one of the stacks. You need to kite him through all of the 3 areas in order to stun him. Our tank does it perfectly. You can just remove his stacks and then stun him when he starts to cast Titanic Empowerment. The problem on the first set of balls was that the rogue accidentally shadow stepped into the boss, which causes the area to stun him instead of the boss. Luckily, you can remove the stacks by using actual stun abilities. Here you can see what happens when you don't use any death cooldown. Our healer had the bleed on him and dropped to pretty much 60% before the stun, which caused him to die from the dot right after. Even though the boss gets harder and harder with every minute passing, we still manage it without any more issues. Also, look at how the Holy Pilot is close to 100k HPS throughout this fight and still had 95% mana to go. Emberon again went unnecessarily long, due to our Boomkin dying, which forces us to finish the second boss as a 4-man party. And even after 2 bosses had been slain by only 4 of us, we were still solid on time. 14 minutes to go for 40% trash and the final boss. This seems still doable. On the next packs, I just really tried to avoid as many storms as possible by hiding around corners, and also using the same technique on the final mob on this dungeon. You see, the infinite time reaver will keep applying a dot to everyone, that they will refresh before it runs out. This dot not only does damage but also reduces haste by a lot. To avoid that, you can either get dispelled or simply hide before it's reapplying the dot. Our Boomkin refused to do it, so he died on 9 stacks pretty instantly. 7 minutes to go with Lust to our disposal. This looked mighty fine. Even though this set of Incorporeal was really close to send their spells, we just managed to CC them in time. Since this boss is rather easy, I mainly focused on instantly getting rid of the debuff if it's on me. And with still 4 minutes to go, we finished this plus 20 Olderman key, gaining 29 rating to go up to 2466. I also took a quick peek on details, and even though 104k isn't high for this kind of keys, I was still able to compete with the almost max gear Boomkin, so I was happy. And even though Joe's journey is technically complete now, with only 34 rating away from Keystone Hero, we bet we just quickly grabbed that one too. So I quickly checked which keys I should do in order to get some quick rating, and it came down to Legendarian's Lair and Vortex Pinnacle.
Oh right, since timing this gave us a plus 21 key, guess what key we got? Tell me in the comments.
And with our current score, it didn't took long to get into a Legendarian's Lair key. Level 18 it is. And by having the mage Port Hub, as well as a dragon called Mother-in-Law, which is a perfect name if you ask me, I knew this can't go wrong. Also, we only had 1 warrior this time instead of 3. And because we done this, I knew there's no warriors until you have to fight bosses. But here's the spot where I meant earlier that I had a weird interaction with my CC on the spirit. You can clearly see that my frog landed first on the right hand spirit, and with that it should be immune to things. But instead, the mage's sheep just overrides my polymorph with his, which led to my frog just getting cancelled. And because of that, the mage had to rotate sheeps till the mobs disappeared. On the first boss, I mainly tried to get rid of the little skitters ASAP, so the big shatter wouldn't hurt as much. On Ularok, I made sure that I applied what I learned in the earlier run. First, don't use any abilities until the tank has threat, and also don't stay too close to the middle platform, so I can't get cucked by the hands. Because we ultimately lacked a bit of single target damage, we had to play 2 intermission phases, yet still we were fine on time while arriving on Narexus with only 2 deaths. The only noteworthy thing here could be that I didn't skill my anti-poison totem again, which led to us taking a bit more damage than necessary. Also, stuff got a bit spicy after we failed to kill both ads, mainly due to the warrior just ignoring them, but we also managed to get through that rather unharmed. No lust available, but almost 4 minutes to kill Dargul in order to 2-chest it. And since we didn't wipe, we did exactly that. Adding the obtaining 27 rating, we sit on a total of 2493, so 7 rating to go. And it was just so very fitting that we end this journey with the very same key it all started. Yet this key will be a test of will. And even though this will spoil it a lot of things went really wrong here. It started by somebody or something randomly pulling the first boss by accident. And half of us was still on the staircase, we came too late and had to wipe it instantly. We quickly made our way back and started the boss. But even though this was only 15, this boss took ages to kill. And then I also saw what the issue is. Our mage pulling a solid 18k DPS, again on a plus 15 key. And here I thought I was boosted on my 20 earlier. With the first boss in mind, we arrived on the second. A fan favorite and a torturing demon from hell for me as a caster. A lot went wrong there, so we quickly regrouped and went again. And I thought using Lust here would be beneficial, since we lacked the damage to begin with. However, our retired semi-pro monk had some other plans apparently, and was not happy with my choice. Again, this fight was tedious as hell, since we only had 2 DPS, and even after arriving on the main platform, our monk kept complaining about Lust. Just move on, dude. A few wipes and resets later, we found ourselves again on the rather lethal last trash pick of the dungeon. But because this is Tyrannical, it should be doable for sure. In the middle of the fight, the warrior also disconnected. I can only assume it wasn't a rage quit, since this was his own key, but this left us with a really bad positioning of having to kill the last boss without him. And since our mage just doesn't do any damage, this had to be played proper. The monk kept complaining, but insisted on finishing this run. Me on the other hand was already certain that this won't give me any rating. Long story short, we did attempt the final boss and actually killed it. Took us 5 minutes, but we did it. And because we only needed 7 more score for KSH, we reached that goal by gaining 9 rating for this, well, shit show of a key. Oh, and for those of you that are confused why KSH didn't show up as an achievement, yeah, so was I. Apparently this is an account achievement, so it only pops up once per account. With the final key ending like this, the missing achievement pop just added to the anticlimactic finish. But there we have it. Joe finally reached his destination and even more. 8 episodes in, and I can honestly tell you an elemental shaman is hella fun. Low cooldowns paired with some serious pew pew in AoE, I recommend this to you for sure. Only downside is a lack of defensive utility, which means you really need the crafted cloak in order to prevent yourself from dying too often. But now you're probably wondering, what's next, pussy? And I am honestly still as clueless as I was before starting on the Shaman. I already made up my mind on the next character multiple times, but then ditched that for another one, and so I can't really tell you at this point. Maybe you can help me with this one, because we had a tank and a rage DPS so far. Do you rather want to see a melee POV or a healer? I considered the role of the healer, but because everyone keeps telling me how stressful it is, I'm not sure if this will bring me as much joy as DPS. As for melee DPS, I've considered Arms Warrior, Frost Decay or Survival Hunt, but Survival would be a bit of a cheat since I'm already aware of how to play it. Yet I still want to show you that Hunter is playable, even with a bit of brain. Regardless, since most people play DPS, maybe it's more relatable. You tell me, so many options and so many questions, yet so little answers. If you are by chance interested in something specific, let's talk about it in the comments. Either way, because Season 3 is probably still some time away, we maybe manage to squeeze another Road to Glory in. But for now, I will end this very fun series by saying once again thank you. Especially if you're one that still is here at this point in the video. Every time you type something in the comment section, I just get excited by getting the little pop-up. I hope you enjoyed this journey as much as I did, and if you don't want to miss out on the next adventure, this will be a good time to subscribe. But as always, I wish you the most fantastic day whenever you see this, and I will catch you in the next series. Thank you again, and take care.